There is a ritual practiced in hundreds of villages across Rajasthan, India. It happens every night, without fail. Before the last lamp goes out, someone in the house walks to every mirror, every reflective surface, and covers it with cloth, with newspaper, with whatever they have. Not because of superstition, not because their grandmother told them to, but because of something that happened, something that left a record. And when you hear the full story of the woman they call the Chhaya Dulhan, the shadow bride, you might start checking your own mirrors before you sleep.
The year was 1887. The village of Dhaneri sat in the western edge of the Thar Desert in what is now the Barmer district of Rajasthan. It was not a large village, maybe 40 families. Mud walls, sandstone floors, the kind of place where everyone knew the smell of everyone else's cooking fire. In that village lived a girl named Rukmini. She was 19 years old. She was to be married in 3 days. Her name meant the one who shines, and by all accounts, she did. The women who prepared her trousseau said she had a quality to her. Not beauty, exactly, but presence. The kind that fills a room before the person enters it. Her groom was from a neighbouring village, a farmer, a decent man, older than her by 12 years, but kind. The match was considered fortunate. On the night before the wedding ceremony, the women of her family gathered for what is called the Telban, the ritual of turmeric and oil. They sang, they laughed, they covered her skin in paste made from sandalwood and marigold.
At some point in the night, Rukmini asked to be left alone. She said she wanted a moment before everything changed. Her aunt, a woman named Devki, later told the village elder what happened next. "I heard her talking," Devki said, "softly, like she was talking to someone in the next room. I thought she was praying. I left her." That was the last time anyone heard Rukmini's voice. They found her the next morning. She was sitting in front of her mirror, a small brass-framed thing, a wedding gift from her mother, completely still. Her eyes were open. She was dressed in her bridal red. Her hands were folded in her lap, and she was smiling.
At first, her family thought she had simply fallen asleep in an unusual position. That happens. Wedding nerves, exhaustion. But she was cold. The village doctor, really just the oldest man with any medical knowledge, found no wound, no poison, no struggle. Her heart had simply stopped. The word used in the record kept by the local temple priest was this: sudden death, cause unknown. They buried her in her wedding clothes. The groom never came to collect his bride. He turned his cart around at the edge of the village when he heard the news. He was never seen in Dhaneri again. That should have been the end of it. But 40 days after Rukmini's death, the traditional mourning period in that region, something happened that the village could not explain. A young woman from a neighbouring family, a girl of 16 named Hira, woke up in the middle of the night screaming.
When her family reached her, she was pressed against the wall of her room, as far from the mirror as she could get. She said she had seen a woman standing in it, wearing red, smiling. They dismissed it as a nightmare. Grief can travel through a small community like fever. They all knew Rukmini. Of course, they were dreaming about her. But Hira's description was specific. She said the woman in the mirror was not looking at her. She was looking past her. Like she was watching something behind me, Hira said. And whatever it was, she liked it. Over the next 6 months, 3 more people in Dhaneri reported the same thing. Always at night. Always in a mirror. Always a woman in red, smiling, looking past them. One of them, a man of 30 named Bowler, refused to speak about it afterward. He left the village within the week. He told his brother before he left. She looked at me like she recognized me, like she'd been expecting me. He died 14 months later in Jodhpur. Heart failure. He was 31 years old.
The village elder brought in a tantric, a man who dealt in the old knowledge, the dark knowledge. He came from 2 villages over. He was not young, and he was not easily frightened. He spent 3 nights in Rukmini's former room. On the 4th morning, he came out, and he said 6 words to the elder. "She is still here. She is waiting." He would not explain what she was waiting for. He instructed the women of every household in the village to cover every reflective surface before nightfall. He said a mirror, at night, in low light, is not just a piece of glass. He said it is a threshold, a surface that remembers what it has seen. And Rukmini's mirror, he said, had seen her die. It had absorbed that moment, that expression, that smile.
And now, he believed, some part of her had learned to live inside the dark side of glass. Not maliciously, not with intention. The way a scar lives in skin, simply by being there. He told them to bury her mirror. They did, at midnight, in the desert. 3 men carried it out without looking at it. The sighting stopped. For a while. What happened next is where the story shifts from folklore into something harder to dismiss. Because in 1923, 36 years later, a British colonial officer named Lieutenant Gerald Ashford was stationed briefly in Barmer district as part of a survey mission. He kept meticulous journals. They are preserved in the British Library in London to this day, digitized, accessible. His entry, dated March 14th, 1923, reads as follows. The villagers of Dhaneri hold a peculiar custom regarding mirrors. Upon inquiry, they directed me to an old woman, I estimated her age at 70 or beyond, who explained the practice in broken Hindi.
She spoke of a bride who died before her wedding and whose image remained in reflective surfaces. Superstitious, certainly, and yet the woman spoke with a quality I find difficult to name. Not fear, certainty. He left it at that. But 2 pages later, in an entry dated 3 days afterward, Ashford writes something that is not explained, not revisited, and not concluded. Could not sleep. Lit the lamp and caught sight of myself in the wash basin mirror. For one moment, just one, I did not recognize the face looking back at me. The expression was wrong. I was not smiling. The reflection was. I covered the mirror. I do not know why. I will not uncover it until morning. He made no further mention of it. The entry stops mid-page.
Now, here is where the story takes a turn that researchers, not mystics, not storytellers, but researchers, have found difficult to categorize. In 2009, a cultural anthropologist named Dr. Sunita Ramkumar from Jodhpur University conducted fieldwork in the villages of Barmer district, documenting dying oral traditions. She spent 11 days in Dhaneri. It is still inhabited. The same families, many of them, descendants. She recorded interviews with 17 villagers. Every single one of them still covered their mirrors at night. Not because their parents told them to, because they had seen something, or someone they trusted had. The descriptions,
across 17 different people, across different ages, different genders, different levels of education, were identical. A woman in red, smiling, looking past you.
Dr. Ram Kumar wrote in her published paper, "What is remarkable is not the content of the sighting, which may be explained through collective memory, shared narrative, or optical phenomenon. What is remarkable is the emotional quality reported by all subjects. None described fear as the primary response. The word used most consistently across interviews was recognition, as though they had met her before, as though she had always been there, and they were only now noticing. Recognition, not fear. There is one more piece, one detail that pulls the whole story taut. When Dr. Ram Kumar asked the oldest woman in the village, a woman in her late 90s, one of the last living people connected by direct memory to the original events, when she asked her what she believed Rukmini wanted, the old woman was quiet for a very long time.
Then she said, "She is not waiting to frighten anyone. She is waiting to be a bride. She never got her day, so she stayed. She is always just before the wedding, always smiling, always waiting for something that will never come." Then she looked at Dr. Ram Kumar directly and said, "Do not sleep near a mirror tonight. Not because she will harm you, but because if she looks at you long enough, you start to feel like you recognize her too." Dr. Ram Kumar reported that she woke at 3 a.m. that night. She does not explain why in the paper. She only notes it. And she notes that the small mirror on the wall of her rented room, which she had not touched, was covered with a cloth she did not put there.
There are things that science can explain. Grief travels through communities. It takes shapes. It borrows faces. Shared trauma produces shared hallucinations, shared symbols, shared stories. The mind, under stress, can show us things in reflective surfaces that are not there. These are real explanations, and they may be the correct ones. But there is a specific detail that has no explanation. Not a cultural one, not a psychological one. Gerald Ashford, the British colonial officer, the man who had never heard of Rukmini, who had never been told the story, who only knew that a village covered their mirrors and found it quaint. He saw a smiling reflection in a mirror that was not his own face. He covered the mirror. He did not know why. Something older than knowledge told him to.
The village of Dhaneri still stands. The families are still there. And every night, without discussion, without ceremony, without needing to be reminded, someone in every house covers the mirrors before the last light goes out. Not out of fear, out of respect. For a girl in red who never got to be a bride, who is still somewhere behind the glass, waiting for a morning that never comes. Still smiling, still looking past you at something just over your shoulder. Tonight, before you sleep, take one look at your mirror. Really look. And ask yourself honestly, is that your expression? Or is it hers?